Hello and welcome into the January 3rd edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. Leafs back in action tonight as they host the St. Louis Blues. We'll help tee that game up for you guys later today. We've got some intriguing lineup changes to discuss for this one as well. All that more coming up on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now check us up on YouTube. To search up Locked On Leafs on YouTube, hit subscribe, and you'll get new daily videos directly to you Monday through Friday. We got a game day tonight. I don't know about you, Dave, but it feels like it's been an eternity since the Leafs last played Colorado on Saturday. We got hockey almost every other night, and then Christmas came, and there's only been a couple of games. And it just feels like there's just so much that Saturday and today we've seen Maple Leafs hockey.
Well, I mean, the last time we saw Leafs play was last year. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. But yeah.
Really? You had...
Somebody made that joke with me the other day, and it took me a minute to realize what they were saying. So I had to do it. But yeah, no, it really has. I mean, there's been a lot going on. World Juniors, but watching a lot of that, holidays. It's definitely weird. It's been the normal period, Saturday night, going to Tuesday night. It doesn't feel any different, but just it's the holidays. I always lose track of even what days are. I think that's what the main reason is, because some of us aren't working the normal hours, so our whole schedule is thrown into flux.
You are telling me. I don't know what it is, but I've been staying up late and up early, and it's just the whole schedule has been messed up. But we'll get back on the rails here, and hopefully the Leafs can get it going again tonight. They're coming off a pretty solid victory against Colorado on Saturday. Parlay that into another win here. They got the St. Louis in town, so the second time in the last week, this time be in Toronto. And enforcements, Rasmus Sandin is finally good to go. He will check into the lineup tonight. So the blue line looks as such. You got Morgan Riley with TJ Brody, and you got Giordano and Hall together, and then Sandin and Liljegren will be reuniting. So kind of going back to what it was more so at the beginning of the year, and what we expect for these fully healthy lines to look like. But that means that Conor Timmins comes out of the lineup, which, I'm not entirely surprised by it, but it's been playing some excellent hockey since coming into a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. I know a lot of people weren't happy, but it also just shows you it's a good problem the Leafs have right now, that they're making these tough decisions on who has to come in and out of the lineup. So it speaks to now this depth the team has. And I think, it's very unfortunate for Conor Timmins. And, but what this also will allow the team to do is down the road where, certain guys will need a night off, insert a Conor Timmins, insert, if Jordy Ben, just to give some guys a breather, because we all know that, there's going to be a lot of games. There's going to be probably a stretch where there's going to be a lot of games played. Guys need time off. So if I'm Sheldon Keefe, that's hopefully the conversation I had with Conor Timmins. It's not, just too many players right now, can't play them all, and just you have to wait your turn again.
Yeah, the only strange part about that is The only player who you feel like you might want to give some rest to down the stretch would Mark Giordano, but Timmins doesn't play the left side. And then you get into a situation that's the route you want to go in. Now you're kind of flipping around some pairings. You're gonna have to put Riley back with Hall. Do you put Timmins with Sandin, Liljegren up with Riley again? That's where it gets a little tricky. But well, that's not a job that you and I have to really do, to be quite honest with you. That's what Sheldon Keefe gets paid the big bucks to figure out. How can he best put his lineup forward on any given night? Up front, it's going to look the exact same as it's looked over the last couple of games here. Bunting, Matthews, Nylander, Yarncroc, Tavares, Marner, Kerfoot, Kampf, and Engvall, and then Aston Reese, Holmberg, and Dryden Hunt will remain in the lineup as well after a couple of good games out of him. So he remains as part of this Maple Leafs lineup, just bringing that little edge that he needs to bring to give this team just a little bit of a different element when he's out there. So he'll continue to play. As for the starting goaltender, did they name a starting goalie yesterday?
I didn't,
Dave.
I didn't see anything from Sheldon Keefe to confirm a starting goaltender.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a Samsonov game, because we've seen a couple now in a row with Murray. I wonder if they go back to Samsonov back at home where he's been lights out.
Yeah, and they've also made it a point that they were going to give Matt Murray days off. They don't want to push Matt Murray too much. Yeah, the Leafs have been off a few days, but you also don't want Samsonov being, waiting for his turn too long, right? And I would say that if you're going to give him a game, looking at the schedule this week, this probably would be the more ideal game to do it. St. Louis, yes, they're a tough team, but they're going through some some injury spells right now, and their lineup isn't looking as strong.
Yeah, and we'll tell you about those injuries on the other side and how that could game. But first, I want to tell you guys about one of today's show sponsors, and that's betonline.net. It's your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to college basketball to NBA and even the World Junior Championships. They've got it all at betonline.net. We're always the fascinating betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, it's where the game starts. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti, my co-host here. And just before we hit the break, you're mentioning that the St. Louis Blues, well, they were getting the injury bug, was kind of rolling through that. St. Louis got some pretty tough news the other day. I do have to say their top forwards have out for at least a month. Out a month is going to be Tarasenko, and then out for 6 weeks. I believe that was a report there. Yeah, 6 weeks for Ryan O'Reilly. So two big dogs on that St. Louis Blues roster out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to be a tough blow for a team that's kind of behind the eight ball and still just fighting to get into a playoff position. But that should bode well for Toronto tonight to not have those two out there on the ice.
Yeah, right. Especially Ryan O'Reilly. He was such a menace against the Leafs when they played in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And this is really a time for St. Louis to figure out what type of team they're going to be, right? Are they going to be a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot, or could a guy like Ryan O'Reilly be moved at the deadline because the team is out of the playoffs? Like this is what that team is now going to have to go through. And yeah, the Leafs are going to have to take advantage of that. It's unfortunate when a team has injuries, but that's the name of the game. Leafs had injuries. They had to find a way to get through it. Now St. Louis will have to as well.
Toronto did get through it. So maybe St. Louis could get through it as well. I'm curious, though, because as we speak, I don't put a playoff spot. They've been kind of chasing it the entire year. Where are they right now in this? When it comes to a wild card position, the St. Louis Blues currently sit in 2 wild card spot, well, 5 back of a wild card spot, with Colorado. Colorado's on the side looking at a playoff spot right now too. Actually, Colorado ahead of them, and Edmonton with the second, and Seattle with the first wild card spot. So the Blues actually have extra games on played on Seattle and Colorado. So not in the best spot for the Blues. We'll see if they can kind of overcome that, but I don't anticipate it happening tonight. I think Toronto replicates what they did Saturday night and comes strong game on home ice. What to you, David, the keys to winning tonight's game?
Well, you know that St. Louis likes. It's funny because when they played in St. Louis, I thought this was going to be a tight defensive game. It turned out being the exact opposite. There were a lot of chances going both ways. I think for Toronto, the important thing is to get that penalty kill back in order, right? They did a better job in Colorado. They got to continue that against St. Louis. St. Louis, they got back to the game, power play opportunities. Jordan Kyrou was just amazing in that game. He's going to be a guy that I think the Leafs are going to have to really focus on defensively. And I think also whoever's in net just got to be steady. I think Murray had a pretty good game against the Avalanche. If it's Samsonov against the Blues, it'll be his turn to try to get himself back in order. But yeah, I think just avoiding, a guy like Jordan Kyrou is going to be relied on more in this game, and I think he's going to be a guy that the Leafs are going to have to be more mindful of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kyrou, Robert Thomas, going to be the guys for St. Louis now going forward. Pavel Buchnevich, another one of those guys who is going to be relied upon to provide some offense with Tarasenko and Ryan O'Reilly injured. Let's look at that blue line too. Like I totally forgot, but Scott Perunovich is out. So is Torrey Krug. So they're missing Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, Torrey Krug, and also Scott Perunovich and Marco Scandella, actually, who's a third pair guy. So that blue line is looking pretty thin, too. They got Nico Mikkola up on a top pair with Colton Parayko, Leddy and Justin Falk, and then Callie Rosen, an old pal from Toronto, and Robert Bortuzzo as the third pair. So they're thin, kind of up and down in St. Louis, and we'll see if they can overcome that. I think they should be able to put some pressure on this blue line. I think that's going to have to be one of the keys tonight. This is clearly a weaker opponent, and make them realize it quick, early, get off to a good start, and then try and build upon that. You got home ice. You can take advantage of the line changes. Hopefully Toronto can do that tonight and come away victorious. All right, Dave, let's take one more quick break. When we get back, quickly recap the scare that the Canadian gave us last night, but also maybe the in World Junior history. We'll cue that up and maybe play that for you guys as well. So that's coming up on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. Listen to Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. So we do got the Leafs and Blues tonight. You can watch that at Puck Drop will be at 7:00. But last night we were treated to quite a good game. It was a scary game from a Canadian, fan perspective. Anytime something goes into overtime and all it takes is one weird bounce and a team could be eliminated. I had some mass anxiety or overtime period. But Canada did come away victorious against Slovakia 4-3 in overtime. And Connor Bedard with arguably the greatest World Juniors goal I think I've ever seen. This guy went full McDavid, deked through the entire team, and then just put the team on and call game. It was outrageous, Dave.
Because that guy was just a man possessed in that overtime. You just had a feeling that Canada was going to win it. It was going to be him that was going to get the job done, and he was humming and hawing, shooting at every chance he got. And then you see him get that puck. You see him start to go on net. I think it was after the second deke where he gets around that defender. You're just like, oh, this like something is happening right now. And then just go ahead.
It's just funny because he was it Brant Clark who was out there with him? It might have been Clark, or maybe it was one of the other defensemen. But one of the other defenders was like calling for the puck, right? And he totally looked him off and said, "Nah, I got this." Put the team on his back, skates through 4 different guys, and puts it into the back of the net. Dekes the goaltender out of his shorts, jog straps in the third row, and just filthiest mitts. It's funny because I was not that I was chirping Bedard, but when I saw him realize that he was looking off his opponent, I was like, no, don't go hero mode right now. Because in 3-on-3, if you go and you try and deke a couple guys out, you get a stick check. Now you're flat-footed. The team goes up the other way. We saw that happen against the San Jose Sharks. Remember Erik Karlsson and what they were able to do when someone tried to get fancy and cute in 3-on-3?
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little worried. I was like, no, don't be a hero out loud, like sitting next to my roommate. And then he went and did what he did. And I was like, fine, you be that goddamn hero. Let's go. And it was just such an outstanding goal. Like, honestly, like magnitude of it in time to send them through to the next round. Just unbelievable. I don't know if we can play it. If you have it queued up and we can play it for those who missed it. But well, I know I tweeted it yesterday too. If you want to check on my Twitter account, or we can play it. I can and edit it because it was just awesome. Like, and just seeing it again, just because it was such a sweet goal. But Canada moves on to the next round. You got it?
Well, actually, the tweet that you tweeted out got deleted. I don't know what happened there.
Oh,
somebody deleted it. Yeah, the initial. This will happen. The initial goal tweet that was sent out got deleted, and they had to repost it. But I have it now, so I found it. I'm gonna pull that up. Go. Like just look at how much space. We haven't even started playing it yet. How much space this guy has before he even goes.
Watch the defender to the left, just like hammering his stick, who also has a lot of space, and probably was looking for a quick, a one-timer to hammer it in, and he just looks him off and says, "Nah, I got the guy."
Yeah.
What? And a great celly to boot. A terrific little celly at the end there. Awesome play by a fantastic player, and God, I can't wait till this guy ends up in the NHL. Honestly, he's going to be something special. He's breaking all the records. He passed Eberle's goal record. He passed Lindros's points record. I mean, he's just making history each and every night at this point out in the tournament. Broke Canada's record for points in a tournament. It's outstanding what this kid is doing. And, well, now he's got to take his talents, and they've got USA next up in the semifinal. So it's not Canada-US final. It's Canada-US in the semifinal. And that's always a big game. So that'll be tomorrow. Is that tomorrow's game? I think I saw. That game will be tomorrow on Wednesday. So we'll maybe tee that up on tomorrow's show. But David, we want to keep it short and sweet. We got a game tonight, Leafs and Blue. It'll be a fun one. We'll be back tomorrow to break it all down for you as usual. Go follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Go follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Also follow the show at Locked On Leafs. And subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. That'd be greatly appreciated. Again, our New Year's resolution is to get to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we're just over 2,400 currently. So we're basically halfway there, and we're hoping that we can get there and maybe even surpass that if we can do it sooner than Jan 1 of next year. That'd be awesome. But that does it for us here today. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep locked right here on Locked On Leafs.